Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining our webinar today. I'm Sid Osgood. I'm the Vice Chair of the Key Leader Development as part of the Leadership Development Community of Interest, and I'll be your moderator today. We are so excited for this National Leadership Opportunities webinar as we have just started the nomination season, and that'll run through the 1st of December. For those of you that might be interested in being nominated or nominating someone, this is your reminder to get your packages started early so you're not rushing to put something in at the last minute. So first, some housekeeping quickly. Please submit any questions you have at any time using the Q&A function on BigMarker tool here. Also, we will be recording this session, and this recording, as well as details on the application process, can be found on the SAME website located at the URL on this slide. Also, there are these slides, which have a lot of info packed in them and are maybe hard to read on this webinar, will be available to you now if you check the handouts tab of this web link. Okay, today we are presenting the 6th annual offering of this webinar, which is designed to bring those who have walked the walk to share their direct experience to help inform anyone who may be interested in these key positions to be best informed. Here's a quick run through on the agenda, and as you can see, we have assembled an amazing group of dedicated leaders who will talk to their experiences related to these opportunities. So I'll try to limit my time during the talking. Before we get started though, I wanted to do a quick poll. So if you can just tell me how long you've been a member of SAME and hit submit, and we'll continue on. We'll keep this poll open a little bit if you don't get to it right away, but go ahead and answer that poll. Okay. Now I'd like to introduce our 106th National President, Mike Huffstetler. Mike is an SAME Fellow and most recently served as a National Vice President. His service to SAME is extensive, including various leadership positions in his home post in Omaha, as well as at the national level, and is a recipient of the SAME President's Medal. Mike is a principal at DLR Group and has long been a stalwart of industry government engagement, including being a great advocate for our Coast Guard, which is near and dear to me personally. Mike, I'll let you take it away.
Great, thanks, Sid. Well, welcome everyone. We really appreciate Sid and Sarah, you championing this webinar today as we kick off the 2025 nomination cycle for 2026. You're going to hear from an amazing lineup of SAME leaders today. The great thing is you're getting it straight from the source, both from past and present national governance leaders. So you're in for a great webinar today. Our 2030 strategic plan, that's our North Star, to drive partnerships, deliver solutions, and develop people. But that takes committed and creative leadership at all levels of our society, locally, regionally, nationally. Our umbrella body for our national governance is the new National Leadership Assembly. You'll hear the acronym NLA. It'll be gathering for the first time at SBC in November. The NLA is where all of our national governance comes together to further SAME's strategic goals. And it's important to have a great group of national leaders helping to guide the entire NLA, working hand in hand with our SAME national office. We're all volunteers. Everyone just serves in different capacities. As you listen to the presenters today, I want you to think of 2 words: trusted steward. This is what each of them are. And whether you've ever served on a committee at your post, helped out at a registration desk, served on a post board, or as a deputy RVP or an RVP, or even on one of our C3s, you are a trusted steward of SAME in any role, because that's how others already see you. Everyone has unique talents and gifts to share at all levels of our governance. So maybe this is your time to step in nationally. Maybe you're on this call or just watching this recording and you're just curious. Or maybe you've submitted for national roles in the past. Regardless of where you're at, ask lots of questions. Dare to say, what if? What if I tried that? SAME is only made stronger by the experience and insights that you can bring to the team. You just have to raise a hand. So thanks for joining us. Turn up your volume and enjoy hearing from these amazing SAME leaders today. Back to you, Sid.
Thank you, Mike. We appreciate your leadership and vision. So we're here today to support and to support the 2030 SAME strategic plan, which is fairly new, and to ensure that we have a great pipeline of leaders for our national succession. Doing a quick reflection on the poll that we just sent out. Looks like about half of us here have over 20 years, maybe a quarter or so have 10 to 20 years, but there are a few folks online that have between 0 to 5 years and 5 to 10 years. So a good spectrum across the years with a lot of experience listening in today. So let's see. There are a number of myths and some common misconceptions about getting involved at the national level that we hope to bust today. We'll revisit these at the end, but hopefully we can dispel these along the way. We'll monitor the Q&A throughout the webinar, so don't forget to ask your questions. Okay, now I'd like to introduce our first three speakers. I'll introduce all three. All are amazing leaders and passionate leaders who have come from diverse backgrounds who will give us some perspectives from their own personal experiences related to leadership within the communities of interest, councils, committees, or as we call them now, the C3s. First up will be Kurt Haldeman. Kurt is a regional vice president at Granite Construction who has over 23 years in the construction field. In a small world, I actually worked for Kurt and Granite very briefly as a consultant in 2020, just after I retired from the Coast Guard and before I started my next job. So Kurt is the current chair of the Construction Community of Interest, which is part of the C3 Project Development Group. Next up, we'll have Bobby Jo Lang, who's a client relationship manager at Olson and has provided business development services for small businesses for over 35 years. She has served in numerous volunteer roles within SAME, including being the current deputy RVP for the Missouri River region and as a mentor for middle school students participating in their local SAME student mentoring program. Bobby Jo is the current chair of the membership committee, which is part of the C3 membership group. Lastly, we have Allison Cantu, who is a SAME fellow and is currently the Deputy Public Works Officer at Naval Base Point Loma in San Diego, and was previously on the NAVFAC Southwest staff as an Environmental Restoration Program Manager. As federal workers, Alice and I are happy to be here to highlight that as a viable path with the SAME national leadership positions. But as you may know, we're both working without pay today, so hopefully we'll get a budget soon. Allison is the current chair of the CAMPS Community of Interest, which is part of the C3 Workforce Development Group. Kurt, I'll let you get the discussion started.
Sid, I appreciate it. Thank you. So again, like Sid said, I'm Kurt Haldeman. I actually am the chair of the Construction Community of Interest during my day jobs, Granite Construction. You know, what's great here is having the opportunity to actually have a little discussion with you guys with respect to what my experience has been here personally. And it's been actually fantastic. And this is pretty new as far as this community interest. It actually got its start as a task force with Major General Mike Weir. And then I was the vice chair when we had Angie come in, and then I succeeded her at JETSI. And the experience thus far has been fantastic. The ability to actually pull government and industry together to help drive partnerships and deliver solutions, which is kind of what we represent under the Project Life Cycle group under the C3. There's a lot's going on. What we're trying to do is basically, really, really drive home the fact that we're here to advance the government and industry as a whole and get those engagements moving very, very swiftly. So they're within the project life cycle, and you'll see it on the next sheet, so I won't go there because I'll hand it off to Bobby, but there will be a QR code there, thanks, Sid, that you can snap there. That'll take you right to the C3 webpage. I would encourage folks to kind of get on there if they can. If you guys haven't been there, explore. There's several COIs that are represented here: architectural, construction, FAM, as we call it, facility asset management, leadership development. There's the camp COI, the environmental warfighter, college outreach, energy, and then the K-12 outreach, which is the STEM, and then there's resilience. And then you got your councils and your memberships, which Bobby and Joe they'll discuss that here shortly. But my experience as a whole has been, from an exposure standpoint, has been able to actually leverage the relationships that we have both here from the industry side, from the A&E side, and the construction side of the house, along with bringing that government folks together to actually be able to deliver, like I said, drive partnerships and deliver those solutions. So with that, I really would encourage folks to look up and just have an opportunity to kind of get involved with this stuff, because we actually are doing what we said, which is we are bringing real solutions to actually move the whole industry and government ahead. I can state that, and I'll hand it off to Bobby here in a sec, but I can state from the construction community of interest perspective that last year there was a paper published with respect to collaborative delivery. And actually, it seems like that has actually gained a lot of traction. We also have some stuff involvement with partnering. We also have been involved with the Defense Acquisition University, helping drive change and solutions there. And then we also have a new one that's just gotten started here with alternative construction methods. And that's just the construction aspect of it. Each of these other CUIs actually have other things that are going on with them. And they're actually, delivering those solutions that we need to advance the overall community as a whole. So I'd encourage folks to get involved. I've been involved with SAME for almost a little over 10 years, almost 15. But it actually has opened my eyes and be able to get involved in this, basically this community of interest, and actually bring something back to advance the overall cause here. So with that, I'll hand it off to Bobby, and she can walk you through her experience as well.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And you did a fantastic job of teeing this up. So I'm going to give a little overview of the membership committee, but then also talk a little bit about my journey to chair of this position. So the membership committee of SAME is made up of essentially the membership, what we call points of contacts for all the posts. So that includes your membership chairs and those that participate in recruiting members for each post and nationally. But we also are open to anybody that's interested in learning more about the society and our membership as a whole. We touch all areas of the society, so it is a great opportunity to not only learn about SAME, but also to meet some amazing people. I have been a member of SAME for nearly 10 years and a member of the AEC industry since graduating from high school nearly 40 years ago. I started working for a small engineering firm while going to college, and we did a lot of work for Offutt Air Force Base here in Nebraska. And I was a secretary, so I kept track of everybody's calendar. And I have to be honest, when I heard that our engineers were going to an SAME lunch, I just assumed that they had been in the military. It wasn't until 2016 when my son was working on a plan to break a Guinness World Record by creating the largest American flag out of Legos, and he was invited to speak to the Omaha Post at one of their luncheons, that I experienced my first post lunch. At the time, I was doing business development for a small engineering firm, and as I sat there, I thought, this is exactly where I need to be for my job. I went home and became a member that day. It wasn't long after that I was asked if I'd be interested in volunteering for an open position on the membership committee for the Omaha Post. Having always been a volunteer it, you'll learn it later type of person, I volunteered, and I found that the membership role was a great fit for me personally and professionally. I'm a natural extrovert, and working in business development, it not only allowed me to meet people in the industry, but it allowed me to share the value of SAME with others. As the membership chair position for the Omaha Post, it allowed me to sit in on the board meetings where I learned so much about SAME and the Post and actually the industry as a whole. I was asked if I was willing to take on the board position of Vice President of Relationships, which membership rolled up under, which I accepted. In that role, I found myself working with a variety of parts and pieces of our post, working with our student chapters, our student mentor program, our veterans outreach program, our IGE committee, and so much more. And then in 2017, I joined the membership committee of community of interest. I sat in on the calls and participated where I felt comfortable. This further offered me the opportunity to meet individuals from SAME National's office, as well as the national leadership team. In 2021, the incoming chair of the membership community of interest asked if I would be interested in the position of committee chair for the strategic subcommittee of the COI. I was a bit nervous, but I was excited to help and learn a little bit more. That position rolled up into the chair of the membership community of interest, which we now call the membership committee. Both positions were a 2-year position. I will continue this role until May of 2026 when I roll off the role in JETSI. But honestly, I plan on staying as involved as I can in the committee. We meet monthly for an hour to discuss a variety of issues, whether it's membership or, what we're doing at SBC and all sorts of things where we have a national representative on our calls. And so our role really is a liaison between the posts and national. So we tend to try to learn as much as we can on both sides so we can share the information going both upwards and downwards from national to the post and then the post to national. My time as the strategic subcommittee chair took place as National was rolling out the new computer system, which involved an improvement in the way that our post membership POCs could access their post rosters. It did have some certain challenges. So during that time, I was able to start hosting some open virtual town hall meetings for our membership POCs and post leaders to help navigate through these changes. But in the end, we ended up discussing so much more than just the rosters. We shared challenges we were facing in membership recruitment, success stories, and so much more. As a member and now as committee chair, I am able to not only learn more about the society, grow my relationships with our national team and our national office, as well as post leaders, but I'm able to make a difference in the growth of and the impact of our membership chairs for the society across our 90 plus posts worldwide, which I'm extremely proud of and very humbled to be able to have the opportunity to touch so many aspects of the society. There's a variety of opportunities to participate in our membership committee, from volunteering on one of the subcommittees or to just sitting in and listening and sharing any information you would like to share with others that might help them. I invite you to reach out to me if you'd like to learn more. We will be hosting an in-person committee meeting at a small business conference in Phoenix on that Thursday. It is listed on the agenda. So if you're looking for that, I'd give you the time, but I'm seriously time zone challenged. So I just defer to the agenda. But if you are attending and available, please stop in to learn more. Otherwise, I encourage you, each and every one of you, to find something either at your local post or within the society as a whole that you might be interested in learning more about and offering your talents for. So I invite you to either dip your toe in the water or jump in head first. So Allison, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Bobby Joe. Man, I feel like I'm the old SAME person here so far. I've been involved since 2006 when I was asked to join the San Diego Post Board of Directors to be the young member chair. I think when I was a young member, they upped the age twice, so the joke was at the Post that I was just going to be a young member forever. I sadly aged out of that. But like Sharon, I think I'm a young member at heart. I started working on national committees in 2014, 2015 timeframe when I moved to DC and wasn't involved in a post. And I was the liaison between the young member and the environmental committees. I've been involved with the CAMP program since 2007 when I started volunteering as a mentor at the Navy Port Hueneme camp. So I did that for about 6 years, and then it was canceled in 2013 with sequestration, and then we restarted the camp in 2019. So I was the camp director from 19 to 23 when I retired so that I could become the COI chair. So I became the chair in 24, and you know, the camp COI has not been organized like a typical C3. Mostly it's myself, the 5 camp directors, or now 6, and the SAME national staff who support. And we meet monthly, but we try to meet quarterly with the post POCs to try to talk about the camp program. And we're really in the process of creating a true COI on the camp with the camp program this year. We want to have more than just the 5 camp directors on the call. We want to talk about camp scholarships, local post camps and support and resources for them. And so we're trying to expand our membership so that we can get more folks on the call. The team recently, mostly Scott Granger and his team, have created a camp operations manual, which helps document the camp process. And so it can be used as a framework to help start up new camps. And I know the Hawaii camp used that as part of their startup process last year. And we're going to keep using that moving forward. It's never going to be a final document. It's definitely a living document. But we are going to be at like a 95% solution with that here. You know, I'm passionate about the camps and really the strategic goal of fostering young leaders, because I'm a product of the Fostering Young Leaders by SAME, both at the post and the national level. I've had many mentors who fostered my leadership skills from the beginning. The post sent me to JETC many times as a young member. I went to Post Leaders Workshop early on. And I was in the first class of the Engineering Leaders Alliance, which was the leadership development program precursor, and then of course camp, where I received the most intensive training that you can get on leadership in 1 week every year. As I tell people, an easy way to get involved and to make changes is to say yes one more time. Think of what we can learn and achieve if each SAME member says yes to doing just one more thing. It truly does take a village of volunteers to do what SAME does. And we encourage everybody to be an active member of that village. You don't have to do anything big, but if you can do one little thing to help SAME, think of the impact you could have on you, on someone else, on your post, on the society, and all of our communities. And that's all I have for camp. Sid.
Thank you so much, Kurt, Bobby Joe, and Allison. We greatly appreciate your diverse perspectives and for joining us today. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up, we have our next 2 speakers are Colleen Rust, who will talk about the RVP role, and Scott Granger, who will talk about the elected director position. Colleen is currently the regional vice president for the Southwest region and was a graduate of the 2020 to 2021 Leadership Development Program. She is a project manager and senior hydrogeologist at EA Engineering Science and Technology and is very active in her local Albuquerque post. Also, fun fact, she is a co-owner of a family-friendly Breaking Bad science-themed Brew Lab 101 beer and cider company in Rio Rancho, New Mexico, which is probably why I knew I liked her when I met her a few years back. Scott is a SAME fellow who is a national elected director. Scott is a retired Air Force colonel who is currently an associate vice president at RS&H. His service to SAME is vast, from locations around the globe, and most notably as the vice chair for post-leader development programs in the Leadership Development COI. Some of you may have even seen Scott's Air Force daughter at the last JETC, who undoubtedly will be a future SAME rock star herself. Colleen, I'll have you go first.
Thanks, Sid. I'll go ahead and start off and just kind of do a high level of what's kind of pieces and parts of what an RVP is. And then I'd like to follow up with my personal story in SAME. So Sid, if you can go to the next slide. Excellent. So you heard earlier, we have 90 plus posts worldwide, and those posts are divided into about 18 regions. And within that region, there's an RVP that really helps being that critical link to facilitate communications from the local posts within that region all the way up to national leadership. So in general, and of course the details here, so I'll just stay pretty high level, but it's really a great experience. You really evolve. It's a really good stepping point if you are active in your local post and you hold a position in your post, even all the way up to a post president's. You can actually springboard into a regional vice president role. And honestly, if you are active in your post, you're probably already coordinating with your local neighboring post. I was a post president in COVID era, so we were sharing as much information as we possibly could. So I was already actively working with my neighboring posts. So this is a really easy transition from a post level to a more regional perspective. Level of commitment, it is a 2-year position. And you heard, it's not written here, but there is a deputy RVP position and then an RVP position. And ideally, every region has a deputy RVP and then an RVP. So what that really means is you get to watch the RVP work for 2 years while you're shadowing, being involved, building those relationships with the local posts, so that when you do take the full mantle as an RVP, you pretty much had the roadmap and some practice over a 2-year period. I am finishing up my 2nd year, and I do have a deputy that has been following me throughout so that we have that succession planning. And so you're not just jumping in the deep end. Other levels of commitment you spend, it really depends on what's needed in your region, about 1 to 4 hours a week. You do have some occasional travel. SAME can provide funds. I work for a small company, so I don't have a budget that comes with my travel. So there are opportunities to help you get to post events. And then, of course, attendance at JETSI and Small Business Conference. The values are far. You have a increased role and you have more visibility. You have more opportunities to meet more contacts and, more importantly, build upon contacts that you have on a local level, now regional, and of course on a national level. If you're interested in volunteering that position, there's always a need. There are varying opportunities with each region, but at a minimum, you can always raise your hand. You can talk to your local post president or the RVP or the deputy that's currently in office, and just raise your hand and say, I'm interested. And then you can go through a process. Some of the larger regions, we're not one of those. Ideally, we have more than just 2 that are that succession plan. You can have an opportunity to open up like a secretary position so that you have even more lead time to watch your deputy and your RVP do what they're doing in their region. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. And I am always happy to explain more details or maybe figure out how to match you up and grow your interest. But my personal story, I actually have only been with SAME since 2017. I'm blessed with 3 kids in middle school now, but I was coming back from a long stint at home with my beautiful kids, and I popped up in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and the company I started with was heavily federal. I had switched from a private sector position to a federal position, and I pretty much was told, you should go to SAME. And I said, great, what is that? Yes. It says engineering in the name and it says military. I am neither. I am actually a geologist. But going to the first monthly meeting at my post, it was very obvious that it was a diverse crowd, huge interdisciplinary examples. And I learned a lot. And in that presentation, there was just opportunity. Each post is constantly trying to show their local membership activities or committees. So they had an opening for a STEM committee chair. I raised my hand. I'm very passionate about K through 12 STEM outreach. And so it was a really easy show in. And then as I grew into that board position, I became the secretary and then the president-elect and then eventually post-president. And so it was a really natural progression, and just the folks that I was working with and in my local post, just super passionate, and just it was an easy just step up one after the other. So part of my transition from post-president, I was part of the LDP program. And so during that process, I really started to see a little bit more about the national and the regional leadership and just how integral the team is and how important it is to make sure you have those strong connections from a local presence all the way up to national. And so my one of my classmates was actually the RVP, and he said, "Hey, Colleen, do you want to be my deputy?" I said, "Sure, I think I can do that." And so I got to follow him for 2 years, and now I've stepped into my role and I'm coming up on my 2nd year. So that's my evolution story. It's really as much as you can do or as little as you can do. It matters. I find that if you are involved in your local post and what they're doing in their outreach, there's probably something that makes you passionate. Go for that. And it can grow, and you can grow those relationships. And that's about it. So I'm going to hand it off.
Thanks, Colleen. So hey y'all, I'm Scott Granger. I'm in my 3rd year as an elected director and have been, with SAME. I think I may be the oldest person in here at the moment. So having started, when, the unofficial journey when your, boss says, hey, you're going to go to this meeting back in, 1995-ish. But then really started working, as a, in 2002, helping with the local post in Honolulu, and then kind of growing throughout leadership roles throughout the society. So as I'm talking a little bit about the elected director today, I'll talk just a couple of things that are on the slide because you'll have these slides afterwards. A couple of things that, folks get really nervous about is, the experience requirement, must have contributed to a post and to the strategic plan. So the post, everyone here is committed and has worked at a post, whether that's as a elected or appointed position within the post, or working on a committee, or just helping out. And then the other part of that strategic plan, if you're working at a post level, most of what you're doing is aligned to the strategic plan, or should be aligned to the strategic plan. So, in terms of if you're concerned about, gosh, do I have that experience? You almost certainly have that experience. In terms of, what the role of the elected director is, it is a little bit more free form. So you've got the opportunity to pursue more of what you are passionate about within the society, aligning to those, driving partnership, delivering solutions, or developing leaders. This role is elected by the general membership. So there's a much broader, and we're aiming for a diverse group of people to fill these roles. I started this journey as an active duty officer. So, in the same way that Sid talked about he and Allison doing this as a federal civilian, you can also hold these national roles while you're in uniform. And then as I went through this role, I transitioned to the private sector. So it's a pretty flexible role with time commitments that ebb and flow throughout the entire throughout your entire term. Specifically, what have I been asked to do? So I've been asked to work with the COIs. So initially, I was asked to help develop the camps manual, an operations manual that didn't exist for the camps, to help kind of unify all of our camps and provide us a framework, general framework for every camp that was considered a national camp to operate with at least some set of standardized guidance. So that really exposed me to the camps program and being able to be active in that role. And as Allison said earlier, this is something that is kind of an ongoing, we're tweaking now around the margins, but it's going to be an 85% solution for the rest of its life because the camps will evolve. But this at least provides that framework for what those future camps look like. And then trying to take that experience and also my experience that Sid talked about with the leader development COI and helping that camps COI grow into more of a camps community of interest versus kind of the camps program. So that's one of the areas that I got asked to work in as an elected director. The other big area that I got to work in, and it was just kind of a short-term role, but I was asked to be a part of the Board of Direction Composition Task Force. So that kind of stemmed from the Small Business Conference about a year ago, when there was a lot of discussion and we were voting to bring in the new strategic plan. With that, there were some small governance changes that really drove a lot of conversation and a lot of consternation about how we were organized. And as a result and outgrowth of that meeting, there was a task force put together to relook at how the society's governance was pulled together and how it was formed, who were the voting bodies. And I got to be a participant with about 10 to 15 other folks helping to shape that. And from January through May, we were able to kind of craft the problem, come up with some potential options and solutions, communicate those solutions, and then get that voted on. And that's now the new National Leadership Assembly that you see in practice and in governance within SAME. So lots of great opportunities as an elected director to shape the society, and all of those can align with your passions. So that's the last thing that I would want to leave you with is, your roles will be somewhat shaped by you, and communicating what you are, passionate about, and then also helping, guided by what does the society need and how can all of those come together to, do what our society needs. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions at the end or take any of those offline, if you have any specific questions. Sid, back over to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Colleen and Scott. I may have you beat by a year, Scott. I think my boss dragged me to a meeting in 1994. So I don't know. We'll have to compare notes. All right. Our next two speakers are Jim Carter, who will discuss the National Treasurer position, and Mike Blount, who will talk about the SAME Foundation. Jim is a SAME fellow and is currently the assistant treasurer for SAME as part of the investment committee. He is currently a national sales director for Emax Laboratories. Jim is a very active SAME member who recently served as the regional vice president for my home region in California, where I've been fortunate to serve with him on various occasions in task force and things like that. So a dedicated volunteer. Mike is a SAME fellow and was our 97th national president of SAME. He is a retired Navy captain who served in the Seabees and has a master's from Georgia Tech, two things that he happens to have in common with my own dad. And Mike is a senior vice president for national government programs at AECOM and currently serves as the chair of the fundraising committee for the SAME Foundation. Jim, we'll start with you.
Yeah, thanks, Sid. It's my pleasure to speak to you all here today about the treasurer role. The treasurer role is a role that I'm very passionate about. I feel like it's really an area of support that can be very impactful to the society at large. The treasurer provides financial oversight on behalf of the NLA and the board. A critical thing is to have a thorough knowledge and understanding of the financial reports and keep the board appraised of financial events, trends, and concerns. Also, the treasurer serves on the foundation board of directors as well as the investment committee. Also serves on the audit committee for the annual report. As far as experience, there's no specific requirements for the position, but it's helpful if you served on other not-for-profit boards. Ideally, have a cursory understanding of generally accepted accounting principles, and also, probably most importantly, be able to critically examine and present monthly balance sheets and income statements. In terms of key leadership experience, it's very helpful to be serve as a post treasurer. That was my route. Also, you could serve as a national audit or investment committee. Other relevant, helpful experience could be P&L, budget responsibility for your private company, or any a business that you're involved with, as well as having fiduciary responsibilities for a large or small company. But again, those are all general, nice to have, but not specifically required. Regarding the level of commitment, it is a job that has a lot of ongoing, regular commitments. You are considered a national officer and a member of the board of direction and the NLA, also part of the investment committee and the foundation board. All of those have regularly scheduled meetings and conference calls. So there is a fairly high level of commitment, as well as being prepared to discuss the budget sheets, the balance sheets, and income statements. In terms of value and benefits, so far, I can say as assistant treasurer that it's just such a great value for me personally to serve with so many dedicated, exceptional leaders and learn from them and be part of their team. So that's certainly one of the benefits that I see serving in this role. And in terms of volunteering, it is appointed by the president and approved by the NLA. It's a 3-year term, and it may be reappointed for one additional term. Currently, Jordan Beard is the treasurer. I'm the assistant treasurer, as was mentioned, and Jordan works with James Beard, national staff. He's the director of finance and operations, and James's team. They put together the statements, so the treasurer role is not needed to actually put all the reports together, but rather to examine and explain and provide any concerns or comments. Now, on a personal level, I started out programs director at Orange County Post and moved into president role and then treasurer role. And I found great value and enjoyment putting together programs that were of interest to people. And if you do that, you provide programs of value, people come, they're willing to pay a fair price for it, you manage the expenses, and you start to generate income and surplus. And the surplus that you generate at a post level and, of course, at the national level, those are resources you can use to do all the great stuff that SAME does. So for me, the treasurer role has always been really a critical role to make sure that the income is coming in, the expenses are under control, and to generate the surpluses that you use to do all the great things that SAME does. So if you're interested in being a treasurer, go on the path to be national treasurer, please feel free to reach out to me or Jordan Beard or Kathy Off for more information. So I'm pleased to be able to tell you about the treasurer role. Like I said, I'm very passionate about it, and I hope I've sparked some interest here today. And with that, I'll turn it over to Captain Mike Blunt with AECOM to talk about the SAME Foundation.
Well, good morning, or I should say good afternoon, everybody. Talk a little bit about the SAME Foundation. It is the philanthropic arm of SAME, and that its philanthropy is SAME, and I'll get into that in a second. But it was stood up in 2016. It went through a few years of organizing and reorganizing itself, but really has been hit a stride in the last 3 or 4 years. Right now, we provide a little more than $300,000 a year to SAME for the camps, for LDP, and for other STEM programs. And our tagline, fostering engineer leadership for the nation. So what are your leadership opportunities? The SAME Foundation is a bit like having a master's degree in SAME. You need to have the bachelor's. You kind of have to have gone through SAME and know it well to become a member. But there are young and old members on the board. And each year there's a set number of members. So each year a different number are brought in. When I said you need to have kind of a master's degree, you need some SAME leadership and volunteer time and your background and fundraising experience is very important. And you'll fill out an application that talks about those items, but it's not a self-nomination position. You need to be nominated by someone. So if you're interested, the nominations open up around July and the new members are named in September. This last year, I think we had 12 nominations and 3 were selected. If interested, grab someone who's on the foundation board or a gray beard within SAME and sit down and assess your qualifications. Does that person think that you've got some good quals and should throw your name in the hat? If you do, throw your name in the hat. If you don't get selected that year, it just means that there happen to be a few more qualified people on the board. Next year might be yours, but you get a great debrief, and that's the wonderful thing about it. And you can become a volunteer. And a great path to becoming a member of the SAME Foundation is to be a volunteer. It's a good ramp up. Another way to get in is to be a multimillionaire and say that you'll donate over 7 figures a year to the SAME Foundation. If you do that, I'll guarantee you we will pick you, and you'll be a member of the SAME Foundation. But really, it's having good SAME knowledge, good fundraising knowledge, some water under the bridge. You've been around for a while, and just the excitement to get involved and fundraise. A great organization. The rest of the information is up on the slide. I'm going to get into this battle of who's been here the longest. So I came into SAME in 1983. Unless Buddy's on the line, I may have a lot of people beat on that. My path, I was actually a regional vice president secretary as a Navy lieutenant. Then I became a vice president of the Jacksonville Post, president of the Jacksonville Post, RVP for South Atlantic, and then the COI chair for what was then the Energy and Sustainability Committee. I moved from there to an appointed director, then an elected director, and then president. I sit and spend a lot of time with the construction COI. I love the COI. It's had great leadership, and we're really working, try to make a difference. And I put my name in the hat for the SAME Foundation and got picked. In addition, I'm a sitting regional fellows point of contact and the fellows point of contact for the Jacksonville Post. So stay engaged all the time, be involved in any way possible. And I'd love to see some of y'all on the foundation one day. Over.
Thank you so much, Jim and Mike. Appreciate your perspectives. And just as a reminder, don't forget to put any questions in the Q&A if you have any. Our next speaker, we have Ben Matthews, who is an SAME fellow and a national vice president, and was most recently chosen as our president-elect. Ben is one of the vice presidents and is a vice president for the federal sector at Atkins Realis. He has a long track record of dedicated service to SAME in his home Dallas region and at the national level. And he's also a great evangelist for National Leadership Campaign, as he twisted my arm shortly after this webinar last year to apply for an elected director position, which I fortunately did and was elected. So Ben, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Sid. I'm glad you came to the charge, and thanks for all you're doing for this KLDC program. I appreciate everyone in the audience. I know we're getting close to 10 minutes on time, and I have Sharon following me, so I want to give her a little bit of time. But a little bit about the national vice president role. I've been doing it for 2 years, and you see the description there on the screen, but it's really just executing the president's priorities. So when you had Charlie Parham coming in talking about finding the value, being the value, and then of course Sharon coming in and talking about sharing the value, I, as a vice president, was working through different ways to execute that vision. Of course, we're all looking at supporting the overall SAME mission, the strategic plan. You've heard those key elements talked about throughout. But I think what a unique role that we have as a national vice president. We're part of that executive committee, formerly the national leadership team. we're hitting the road. We're working through all the pain points and challenges that we have across that executive committee as we're rolling that in through the National Leadership Assembly. So, and a lot of the pieces that people don't know about in terms of where the national vice presidents plug in, it's really with those C3s that we talked about. As Kathy outlined in the chat, there's trying to divide it up between the project lifecycle, the workforce development, and the membership. There's vice presidents that are aligned to each of those, kind of serving as mentors, helping them with the work plans throughout the year as we move into JETC and SBC for those through those updates that are taking place. So that's really one of the key roles of the national vice president. You have to be an SAME fellow, so that raises the bar just a touch and allows those fellows who are interested to really look at ways to give back to the society. And the last thing I'll do is spend just a quick moment on is I often have people ask, like, well, how do you have so much time for SAME? And you see on the screen, it's a 2-year term and anywhere from 200 to 300 hours, and it's all depending on how much you can put in. But for me, SAME is part of my DNA for my day job. If you work in the federal business, you're already going to JETC and SBC. You're seeing the value at those various events. Yes, we'll spend a couple more time on calls talking to those respective C3s, but I'm using that to round out some of my experiences, increase my professional development hours as a licensed professional engineer. So I think there's ways when you see it on the screen that it could be 200 hours, it could be 300 hours. But when you think about going to this conference or that conference that's already on the schedule, it's really not that much more of an ask. And a lot of the things that we're being asked to do or look into are those things that we truly are passionate about, with driving partnerships, delivering solutions, and developing people. So that's something I just want to spend a little bit of time on that I hadn't heard talked about in this webinar, because people can be apprehensive to say, how much time is this going to take? And for me, it's been worth every minute. Hearing some of the journeys that everyone talked about, for me, it's been about the last 20 years of being active with my posts and always, saying yes and thinking of ways to say yes for these national roles. So as Mike Huffstetler kicked it off and talked about being a trusted steward, we need you all as trusted stewards and to think about this next step for those that are fellows out there on this call that are interested to think about stepping up to be a national vice president. So that's it for me, Sid. Thanks.
Great. Thank you so much, Ben. It is now my honor to introduce the 105th president of SAME, Sharon Kroc. Sharon is an SAME fellow and is a principal at Schnabel Engineering. And like many of the leaders you've heard from today, she has held many leadership positions in SAME, including national vice president, elected director, and Philadelphia post president. She is a recipient of the SAME President's Medal, and with her infectious smile and boundless energy, she is among the very few SAME members who hold the honorary title of Young Professional for Life, a title I know she exhibits great pride in, as was mentioned earlier. Without further ado, Sharon, please take it away.
Thank you, Sid. Yes, and that picture cracks me up every time, but there's a lot of teeth in that picture. Anyway, there's been a lot of great stories so far, and before I jump into my national president, I just wanted to remind everybody that everybody's journey is different, right? You don't have to be in every single one of these positions. You don't have to be in all of them. You don't have to follow the same journey. There are different opportunities for everybody, and national president is one of those. So I won't go through all the details, but I'll highlight some things that were mentioned earlier. Like Ben mentioned, there is a lot of time. If you scroll down there to the level of commitment, president can take a lot of time, but it is part of my job as well. So my company is supportive, and of course you have SAME staff, and all of the other positions that were just talked about today are all supporting all of these roles. So it is a fantastic opportunity to represent, the society as national president. So it really is a phenomenal position. Happy to talk to anybody individually about the whole process, but it is an opportunity that many people may not consider right away. So again, talk to other folks, get interest from people, and tap people on the shoulder. And that's one of the things that's my job, and the other national leaders, to encourage and continue to grow the next leadership tier in SAME. Nominations, they're out, right? You can be putting in nominations now, and the only criteria is that you have to be an SAME fellow. So consider that, and all the roles that there are there, the vice presidents and the president-elect, all of that helps grow and teach you what you need to do as your president. So you don't get to jump into president right away. There's a fantastic learning ladder that gets you to where you need to be by the time you can become president. So I'm going to actually step into also the next one, since I see we've got 5 minutes. The Academy of Fellows Executive Committee is another volunteer opportunity for leaders to get involved with, and that's one of the roles why we have 3 vice presidents, a president-elect, and an immediate past president. There are lots of jobs to be done by national leaders other than president as well. And one of those is to be the chair of the AOF, which is also a fantastic opportunity. That's the role I get to lead this year as immediate past president, where we get to be identifying also the next leadership tier, because again, being a fellow is that one criteria that you need to have to be a national leader. So the level of commitment it varies throughout the year, but it is, you get to be on the executive committee that discusses what's going on in the realm of the fellows. You're also heavily involved in the review of all those fellow applications that come in each year, and you get to be an active player in that process. And anybody that wants to be a volunteer on the executive committee of the Academy of Fellows also only needs to be a fellow themselves. And there are several positions within the Academy of Fellows Executive Committee, which include the deputy, the vice chair of internal, vice chair of engagement, events, communications and marketing, mentoring, and then the vice chair of awards and recognition. So there's lots of roles to be played within the Academy of Fellows Executive Committee. So if you're interested in any of those things, talk to anybody that's currently on the executive committee, or talk to me, of course. I'm happy to tell you about some of those. But that is another opportunity if you're a fellow and maybe you're not quite ready to put your name in the hat for a national leader position. You can be on the executive committee of the Academy of Fellows. So again, the only requirement is to be a fellow. And those of you that aren't fellows yet, there's lots of folks on this call that have a lot of experience and happy to help you get there if this is something that you want to consider in your future. So again, to close out my comments, I just want to say, again, don't let any of this intimidate you, because you all can do it. If I can do it, you all can do it. And there is no one path you must follow except to become a fellow for the national leadership positions. But there are lots of other positions available if you are not yet a fellow to get you the experience and coverage throughout SAME to get you into that role. And that's it for me, Sid. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Sharon. And I know we're almost out of time, but the good news is we've heard from all the speakers. We'll have our next poll here. So if you want to answer that, and I just have a few more slides, you can attribute it to me being a terrible moderator, but we're almost done here. So next, we would want to just real quickly review the Mythbusters. I'll just go through a few things. If you want to contribute, you can find the time you can. You will find it valuable, and you'll find people with a wide range of availability experience. You don't need to know someone to be chosen for SAME positions. We all celebrate anyone who is interested in stepping up. It's a process dedicated to being fair and transparent. We need your help to get the word out. You don't have to be an engineer, as was said a couple times, a military officer, a retired military officer. We value and celebrate a diversity of perspective and experience in order to have valuable industry government engagement. Young professionals are eligible for all SAME leadership positions. At least one elected director per year must be a young professional. Self-nominations are welcome for all SAME leadership positions except the foundation board. And you don't have to be a SAME VP to run for president. The only requirement is for president-elect is to be a fellow. And you don't need to be a fellow to serve on the foundation, and it is a great way to add to your fellows nomination. Bottom line, You have to have the passion and commitment, and then just raise your hand and there will be something for you. The society values diversity of thought and diversity of experience, and we are better when we have a national leadership that is from all walks of life. So if you're thinking about one of these positions, please tell someone, perhaps someone on this call or someone within your local region or post that has held one of these higher level positions. They can help you map out your plan and then go for it. And as a reminder, the nomination period opened yesterday and goes through December 1st for the national positions of president, vice president, elected director. You can scan the code right here, which will take you right to the nomination page if you're interested in any of these positions. We hope you've enjoyed today's presentations. And if you think of a question you didn't get to ask, feel free to send an email to Kathy Off. Her email is right here. Or if there's anyone you want to connect with that was on this call, we can get you connected with anyone on this call. I really want to thank our president, Mike Hufstetler, as well as all the National Leadership Assembly, in particular those who were speakers today. I'd also like to thank the SAME National Office, specifically Sarah Ferry and Kathy Off, who assisted me in putting today's webinar together. Thank you so much. Look for Q&As for a bit here, but thank you for joining today's call.
So there